In this video, I want to share with you some of the secrets of raw food speakers and teachers and speakers. And I've been running a festival over 10 years where I've invited many different raw food speakers and teachers to come and speak. I've also done a podcast and interviewed over 120 famous names in the raw food world. So I have some experience dealing with raw food speakers, and the number one confusing thing to me about people that want to speak at raw food events, who are doing a raw food diet, who are meant to be, teaching about this diet, is that they often don't want to talk about the diet. And this is something that's been amazing to me over the years, is they don't want to talk about the diet. They're happy to talk about their story. And even then, it's like kind of hard sometimes to get them to tell their own personal story. They're sometimes happy to talk about magical things, mystical things, spiritual things, their spiritual life or whatever. They're happy to talk about their mental life and mental things and mental hacks. They might be happy to talk about fitness, about the law of attraction, about breathing, about electric vehicles, all sorts of weird topics, making money, having a business online, doing raw food coaching. All of these kind of things people seem to be more happy to speak about than how to do this diet. And they assume that everyone knows. And what they don't understand is that generally the audience of these festivals is a lot of new people. I think that they're assuming that the audience is a whole bunch of people that have been watching their content over the years. And that's absolutely not what the audience, well, that might be what some of the audience is, but even if it is, they've watched so little of it and they've not really taken much of it in. And that's the truth. So it's a lot of fairly new people. You got to realize that people that are actually raw vegan and on a raw vegan diet often are like above going to festivals. Above that. They should invite me to speak. I've been a raw vegan for 2 months. They're above these events, and they would rather be on their own somewhere complaining and writing YouTube comments than actually going to an event and meeting other people in real life and having a good time. That would be like a positive thing for them, and they might not be aligned with positive and good things in their life. So we can't always convince everyone to come, especially not raw vegans. But in terms of the raw food speakers, they don't want to talk about the diet. I don't know why. They don't want to talk about what they eat and how they eat. I don't know why. They don't want to tell people how to do it. I don't know why. And sometimes they'll be very flippant about it and say things like, you eat fruits and vegetables, have you got it? That's it. Okay, let's move on. And you're like, what do you mean move on? Like, this is what they're here to learn about. Move on. So a lot of people like to talk about the philosophy, and the thing is, the diet part is maybe a bit boring and simple. And maybe it doesn't reflect greatly on them as a person to be speaking about this simple diet. And I've noticed this even in content put out by, there's people, I only know them because of the raw food movement, through raw veganism. But if they put out content, it's about like philosophy, living a good life and spiritual stuff and wisdom and all this. And I'm like, are you eating any fruit at the moment? Like, what's going on with your diet? All this philosophy mumbo jumbo is all nice. It doesn't help someone reverse heart disease, rheumatoid arthritis, digestive conditions, colitis, like people that are in this moment right now, in pain, suffering, misery, up all night worrying. Their child has just been diagnosed with some condition that is purely diet related, and you're mumbo-jumbo-izing about philosophy and how to live a good life and how to the law of attraction of the universe, and all this stuff. And I don't get it. I don't get it. And I think they overestimate the knowledge of the audience. They assume, oh, everyone's doing raw, they'll get it, or just eat this food. And it's the same thing. Mike Arnstein said this once in a conversation with him about Woodstock, and he was like, "Yeah, no, the education isn't that important. Everyone sees how the food's laid out. They learn on YouTube." Total mistake. He was convinced of it all this by a guy called Roy, who wanted Woodstock to be a big kind of party centered around him. and he couldn't follow a raw vegan diet if his life depended on it, which, ironically it does for some people. And a good guy, but not a raw vegan. And well, I don't know the point. I think I've made the point. Maybe so. And that's a bigger point about raw food festivals is people would come to these events, have a great time, wonderful time, best time ever, and then want that without the raw food thing. And they'd be like, the raw food isn't that important. I can go and have that experience somewhere else. No, you can't. No, you can't. And I've put that in adverts. Then I've put people experience this unique environment here at the Raw Food Festival, and the food's part of that. And people say it's not just the food; it's the people together. And you're like, yeah, it probably is a combination of things, but it's the food is having an impact, probably a very big impact on the way people are feeling and how they are and everything at the event. So the food is an important aspect of it. And the lack of other foods. Otherwise, people every evening be like, zombified out, as most of the world are zombified most of the time. So, raw food speakers, number one, don't want to speak about raw food diet. And a lot of people at these festivals want to try and commandeer these events for other things. Oh no, this is about self-love. This is the really important thing is self-love. It's like, well, how about you eat? How about you show self-love? How about you eat in a loving way? Is that too difficult to ask? How about you prove your self-love? Not just, I'm gonna look in the mirror and tell myself I love myself and all that, and I'm gonna cry a bit. And I'm gonna cry every day. It's like, move on, get on with it. If you really love yourself, treat yourself with the respect and love that, if I had an animal, I'd give it the best diet I could, I think, if I could afford it or whatever. Because why wouldn't you? And if you have a car, I assume you would put in the right petrol, or do the right stuff for it, So if you loved your car, I guess, So simple things. And yeah, people want to commandeer these festivals for other things sometimes. So there was a wee bit of a time at Woodstock, people wanted to commandeer it a bit for LGBT stuff, and they were really disappointed that more people weren't LGBT. And most people aren't LGBT. And even people that are LGBT are often bi and happy to go along with the crowd or whatever. They're just going to go in the dating games, they're just going to date the opposite sex, because actually they're not that LRG, they're just a little bit LRG when it suits them, when they're in the right group of people and they can join in with them for a while or whatever. Polyamory was something that some people like to talk about. Total disaster, total disaster relationship style. And unfortunately, that was spoken about at some events. It's led to the only people I've ever seen practice polyamory as couples, and this is the only people I've ever seen, have led to breakups with a child involved, and they can't get it through their mind that this is what the whole setup is for. It's not for your sexual gratification. the monogamous marriage. It's for the safety and stability of the raising of children. This is unbelievably hard for them to grasp because they live in a world where the satisfaction of their base sexual desires is more important than everything, including the safety of their child and the feelings of their partner, and absolutely more important than the feelings of their partner. It's just a dumb. I don't know. To me, it's a bit of a dumb thing, but anyway. And there was always a weirdness around polyamory of like, there's weird stuff happening to girls that are too young and stuff. There's always like weirdness where people are trying to encourage everyone into this bad lifestyle. Total disempowerment lifestyle, like darkness, deep dark places. Anyway, I've never been into it myself, but I mean, if I had tons and tons of women coming at me, then maybe you'd change your mind. Oh yeah, all of a sudden I'm polyamorous. Oh yeah, if you want to be in a relationship with me, you need to understand that I'm polyamorous and I might go my own way and do other things sometimes. So anyway, that's more of a thing about festivals over the years and about events over the years that people want to come in and do different things. Other secrets of raw food speakers. Well, the main thing that you would think is that a lot of them aren't eating the food. They aren't raw or whatever. But mostly I think they are. Mostly I would say that, and that's been my goal with most of the speakers at the UK Fruit Fest, was that they were raw vegan, 100%. Now the truth is, I don't know. And some of the people that speaking at the event weren't speaking about the diet. So I never really, wasn't that bothered. Or they might have been doing food demos, or they might have been doing something that wouldn't necessarily matter if they were raw or not. But sometimes you could listen to someone and you go, yeah, they're not a raw vegan, just the way that they're talking about it. The way they're talking about it. They still got something in their mind desperate to eat other food. You could see it in the way they talked, the way they were talking to the audience. You could see, nah, they've not really got this. And that's why they wanted to talk about self-love sometimes or other aspects. Because they want to say, well, you got to love yourself and have potatoes sometimes or whatever. You got to go to the vegan restaurant and eat what you want and what? Feel terrible and like and digest it really poorly and stuff. Like that's not self-love, it's just addiction. Like it's just not able to get over the cravings. So people don't really have free will when it comes to cooked food. Don't have any free will and don't accept it. The total delusion. So where are we going forward from here? Other secrets. Another big secret I would say is that there's people that appear very confident as speakers that are incredibly insecure, unbelievably insecure, and have no confidence really, and are not very personally powerful, competent people, but can go up on a stage and look powerful and strong and confident, and people want to follow them and go with them, and they realize they've not got anything for them to follow. Like they've not got anything, and they're not really a leader underneath it all. But they've got enough to be impressive on a platform, on a stage, and they can really inspire confidence in people. But they personally have a lot of insecurity, unbelievable amount of insecurity. Sometimes about how they look, about um, how people feel about them, about what they're personally capable of. And most of these people are capable of doing so much more. They just don't. They just don't. And they're lucky to maybe find themselves as part of an event or a festival. Woodstock had a bunch of speakers that really weren't doing anything else. The rest of the year weren't, as far as I could see, weren't putting out any content. So people from the festival would find them and go, that's an interesting person, like their talks. Let's see, uh, you know, like I was certainly one of these people. I'd like to learn more from them. What else had they got? They might have a book, but a lot of them didn't. Did they have a YouTube channel? Some barely posted anything on it. Did they put anything on Facebook? Instagram, anywhere, no. They weren't putting any content out. And weren't interacting with people, weren't doing anything throughout the rest of the year. As far as I can see, maybe they had a raw food group, but you never saw any information about it. Did they ever do a talk for any local groups? Did they do anything? Never saw anything. So they'd somehow found their way into the festival, and that was their place. And that was the highlight of their year, best thing, and they got to come and show off a bit, and like had no intention of carrying that on for the rest of the year and doing more things and building from it. And that's always disappointing, I think, a little bit. So, and also it doesn't help the festival because these people are getting a platform to kind of build themselves on, but they don't build, they don't do anything, so they don't bring anyone the next year. So that's a shame. What else? What else should we talk about with the speakers? I mean, there's typical things with speakers of all types that people are unprepared. They haven't really done a good job of rehearsing what they're doing. That happens, but it's not too bad. Timekeeping. Sometimes people have rules that they'll come to you and say, "We need this. You this." Like they'll say, you know, every speaker must go on and off on time. Everything must be run to time and all that. And then the person that tells you is the one that breaks all the rules. Like, so they kind of want the rules for everyone else or something. There's definitely been a history, I mean, this is speakers in general, of people just speaking over time if they're allowed. And that's a big problem with speakers. They often don't stick with the time limits. They don't respect the time limits. There's stories about David Wolf, for example, back in the day, speaking for way over time and annoying everyone. But this is the thing, like someone can be on stage, he can be really doing well, get the audience into it and go, "Do you want me to keep going?" And the audience goes, "Yay." And of course the audience goes, "Yay." But if someone's really got into a rhythm and a flow and the audience is enjoying it, that's nice. But you got to do that within the time limit. That's the art of it. So you can't hold speakers to being professional no matter how professional they put themselves across. You have to hold them to time. You have to make sure they're there on time. You have to make sure in advance they know their presentation. At Woodstock, I remember going to Dan the Life Regenerator, Dan McDonald. He went up on stage and went. He looked like he just was woken up, and he went, "Sorry, what's the title of this talk? What am I meant to be speaking about?" Like total disrespect for the audience. Total disrespect for the audience. And there's a sense sometimes of entitlement of, well, this is my audience, these are my people. Like, not always. Just because you got a big audience on YouTube doesn't mean that those are the people that end up at the event. I think a lot of the social media people, they thought that these audiences knew who they were. A lot of the time, a lot of the audience didn't know who they were. The people that come to the festival and find out about these events are not necessarily the same as those who watch stuff on social media. So a lot of the times, like, people didn't know who these people were, and they were not so happy about it, or not so happy about it, but they were acting as if people did know them more than they did. But that's really bad behavior for me as a speaker, is if you turn up and you don't know what your talk is. Now, he kind of had the talent that he could pull it off, but it's terrible when the speaker says something like, I speak from the heart, I don't prepare things. And sometimes they'll say that in front of the audience, I don't really prepare things, I just speak from the heart. Like, they've maybe heard another speaker say that, but that's a little bit of a line. it's not like the person's actually unprepared, but then some people take that literally. Like, I've not really, and they really haven't prepared, and they can't speak. And I went to a couple of speeches sometimes at some of these events, and I was just sitting there going, "This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible." Um, and some people, those experiences like turn me off them for life. Is it turning up to a talk and they're just like, they haven't prepared it whatsoever. Like, well, why did they put it on the schedule? Why did they volunteer? They just want attention. Like, what is it? You know? Um, oh, I've got so much to do. I couldn't prepare. Literally, you can prepare a talk in 5 minutes on a subject that you know about. You can prepare the outline of a talk in 5 minutes and have notes with you, and have your 5 to 7 points that you want to talk about, and then you can maybe ask if the audience has any questions, if the audience wants you to talk about anything. And there's the old kind of, to me, not really great technique of someone standing up and asking the audience what they want them to talk about. Um, or what have you heard? What have you, tell me about some things you've learned about raw food, and then start writing down the things the audience are saying. Yeah, 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 this. And it fills time. It's just a way of getting through a presentation without having planned it at all. So it's all good though. It's all good. Secrets of raw food speakers. Yeah, the other thing is that what I learned was that even long term raw vegans are sometimes the worst to try and please when it comes to food. Sometimes the worst because they have certain habits and things that they want to eat at certain times, and certain things they have, and if it's not there, they're not happy, and they want something else, and they don't want to just eat with everyone and stuff like that. And it used to be the case. I've always made this a rule at the fruit festival in the UK. Like, speakers can't go into the kitchen, into the. I mean, some of them still do. We try. I try and stop that from happening. But some people are childish. Some people are childish, and they want to keep on doing that. They like going against the rules or whatever, and they don't get that. Like, the rules are set up for the benefit of all the people that are coming, that are paying to come to the event. Like, they've paid for the food, so the idea that someone else is maybe trying to get something that everyone else isn't getting is really bad, a really bad look, and makes them look bad. And it's like trying to explain this to people, like, this makes you look bad when everyone sees that you're going and trying to get something that they can't get. Anyway, you can't teach people like basic things like that all the time. Um, but they might have something where they even bring some of their own food with them. It's a bit bizarre. Uh, Even like fruit, even like they don't want that fruit, but is there that fruit? And it's like, well, what's the difference? Like, this fruit out. Oh, but I usually have a tomato sauce with this and this. It's like, it's a buffet of fruits, vegetables, and a choice of sauces. Like, surely you can make something you're happy with. But people have their rhythm, their thing they eat every day, and so a lot of raw vegan leaders teachers are not very relaxed about their diet. They can't just go to a place and eat bananas, as much as some of them might say things like that. They can't just go and be like, I'll just, great, there's some bananas. I love bananas for the. If there are bananas, they'll be like, these aren't ripe enough for me. I eat them, and it's like a nightmare. And then another one's like, these are too ripe for me. And then another one's like, so they're all difficult. Um, for some reason, even though you think, well, there you go, like, there's a raw vegan diet, and the attendees are usually way more happier with the food than the teachers, than the speakers. The attendees, especially brand new people, are amazed by the food. They're like, I can't believe I enjoy this. I didn't expect to enjoy this food and feel so full, and have so much, and it's brilliant. And the attendees who are new to it are like, this is great. This is really well put on. I can't believe the food that you're putting out. It's great. I'm really feeling full and enjoying it. And a lot of the kids like it, and a lot of the people that don't want to be raw vegan like it. And then you get these long-term raw vegans coming up to you. The bananas aren't right. This isn't right. And they're like holding up the queue, trying to find the perfect right. It's just a bit weird to me. But I guess I think slightly differently to people. So those are some secrets of raw food teaching. I don't have a lot of time left in this video. And in general, I just think it's a funny thing. They often don't want to speak about the diet, or they go over it very quickly, or they don't really want to explain it. I don't know why that is the case. They want to maybe have their own niche thing they want to talk about. A lot of them are very particular in how they eat their diet, and can't relax around just eating along with what everyone else is eating. And yeah, that's probably some of the main things I would say. And yeah, there's problems with speakers, their professionalism, timekeeping. These are basic human things, so it's not anything to do with raw vegans. And yeah, that funny thing of speakers and social media people appearing way more confident, way more secure online, and sometimes even way more friendly online, more friendly, more open. And a number of people over the years I've invited to come that I can't get to come, or that I couldn't ever get to come. And it was their own personal, like, I think they had a fear. They were scared. Scared of meeting people in real life. Didn't think they were good enough, or whatever. A lot of different things. Anyway, feel free to message below, put a comment below if you like this.